Hey everybody, trying to start the second one. Let's see if it'll go. Well, I can't seem to get it to... Hi Mike, how are you? See you're listening. Hi Andreas. Oh, you're waving. Very good. Trying to go live on the... For some reason I can't go live on the second one. We'll see. Oh, now it's working. Maybe. Well, what I'm trying to do is, because I have two Facebook pages, one is for the campaign and one is for my personal one. And I couldn't figure out how to get it to both pages at the same time. So I had a computer set up for the campaign page and iPad set up for this one, for the personal page. But I can't get the campaign one working yet. So technology is thwarting me right now. So, but that's all right. It's so great to see you all here. I hope you're all doing okay. It's now day what? I'm not sure when. I'm not sure how many days we've been doing this. I think I've been doing it for closing in on 2 weeks, and we're going to have some more of it. But the thing I wanted to talk about today is the title of this is that we're all socialists now, and for all our complaining about socialism throughout the country, today the Congress passed the stimulus bill over $2 trillion. They passed it by voice acclamation rather than a roll call vote. And they were threatened a little bit by Speaker Pelosi that if they didn't pass it by voice acclamation, then there would be a roll call vote, which I guess was enough of a threat to get them to pass it. But the reality is we are now all socialists because we're bailing out people, we're bailing out corporations, and this is what the kind of socialism that has been discussed by various Democrats, this is what we're talking about. That when people in need in our country need help, that we all work together, the same way as if our neighbors help a family that's in need. It's the same sort of thing. Now I noticed that the Republicans tweeted out that they're calling it the Families First bill, and I responded to that tweet by saying, well, if it's the Families First bill, why does most of the money go to corporations? I haven't gotten a response to that yet, but there is some good news. Cruise ships are apparently not going to be part of the bailout. You remember that the cruise ships have been central in the spread of the virus, and so there was a moment when President Trump was talking about he wanted to bail out the cruise ships, a very important industry, but enough of a backlash occurred, I guess, because enough Americans stood up and said, you know, these cruise ships, none of them are registered in the United States. They register with Liberia or they register with the Bahamas for the purpose of avoiding American taxes and liability in American courts. They want to minimize that. So apparently enough people got to the folks in government and said, you know, maybe they should go talk to Liberia. Maybe they should go talk to the Bahamas and see if they would like to bail them out. So I'm really glad that that is actually good news. There's bad news, and that is that the amount of job cuts that are going to be going across the country are going to leave millions of us without health insurance. This is from an article on the Washington Post, and I believe I put the links up on the pages so you can click and look at these articles. But apparently half of Americans get their health care through their jobs, and so when the jobs shut down, sooner or later their health care is going to shut down as well. So here we are. Once again, we're going to be talking about health care. When I was campaigning in 2018, I ended up saying to people, Medicare for all, right? It's an easy way to explain we want to cover everyone. Because Medicare is an existing system that we could build onto. And it would at least give the possibility of modernizing our healthcare system. I want to go into a little bit of detail by saying what might be even better. And by the way, whatever works is going to be the way this goes. And the way that I think the country needs to work on things like this is to set goals. So the goal I believe in as far as healthcare goes is we want lower costs, like a lot lower, maybe 40% lower. We spend more than any other nation on earth for our health care, and we don't get great results. So first of all, we want lower costs. Next, we want our coverage to honestly cover everyone. Right now we cover everyone, but we cover everyone, the folks who don't have health insurance who need to still be treated. Something like 30% of people that show up at emergency rooms used to be people who didn't have health care at all, and they would never be able to pay the bill. Well, that bill gets paid by the rest of us in higher health insurance costs, and those costs are going to rise. By the way, health insurance companies, yesterday when the stock market went up, health insurance companies' stocks went up as well. They probably went down today when the market retreated, but the point is they're anticipating making money. And one of the comments from an insurance executive, I think he's retired now, he said they'll just raise their rates. So after a massive event like the COVID-19 virus, once it's finished its course, we're going to see higher healthcare costs. And the insurance companies are planning on making a living through this process. Anyway, so our second thing is we want to honestly cover everyone. One of the questions that gets asked is, well, what about people who are here illegally, so undocumented people? I think we're getting a real lesson that it's actually better to just go ahead and pay for everyone who's here, whether they're legal or not, because having sick people in your country is a bad thing. Right now we've got sick people in the country, and it knows no boundaries. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you live. You can be exposed to the virus. So getting exposed to the virus through someone who's here legally or illegally doesn't matter. The virus doesn't care. So ultimately, yes, we are going to have to cover people who aren't here. We have to get control of our borders, of course. That's a separate discussion. But it's better for the country that we have people here that are healthy. Next, we need to make this easier to use. And by easier to use, I mean that the amount of hours you spend on the telephone with an insurance company while your kid is sick or your wife is sick or someone in your family's sick and in the hospital, the amount of time you have to spend arguing or comparing prices between various health insurance companies, this all eats into your time. So it makes it more difficult to use. Also, when you show up at the doctor's office and they say, just fill out this little 1/4-inch thick stack of papers before we treat you. Yes, you've been here 20 times, but we need you to fill out this again. We could cut down on that. So we can make it easier to use. Less expensive, covers all of us, easier to use. And finally, we need to get better results, meaning lower rates of serious disease, lower rates of infant mortality. We all want to be able to live longer life expectancies. Right now, Americans have been experiencing reduced life expectancies. I think that may have turned around in the last 6 or 8 months, but we are still far behind other developed countries. To get just a little bit deeper, and I hope you all will be okay with me getting into this, the proposal I would have, a way to start would be to do a national health insurance, nonprofit health insurance company that would cover all of us, and it would cover the basics. So checkups and basic coverage, and that it would also cover catastrophic coverage. Because when one of us in our family gets cancer, that can bankrupt the whole family. That can cost a family their life savings. It can cost them their house. People lose their houses every day because someone in their family gets a serious disease. That does not happen in the rest of the developed world. In fact, in France, they've got a concept they called solidarity, and it means the sicker you get, the less you pay. I spoke to a Frenchman who said, yes, that's true. He said, my dad developed cancer, and it was a terrible 4 years of going through treatments for our family, but we never paid a bill. And we think it's barbaric that Americans lose their houses just because someone in their family gets sick. Now, does that mean that we get rid of health insurance companies? I say no. I think that there's going to be a big middle ground in there between catastrophic and covering the basics. And things like mental, dental, vision, and hearing could easily be covered by health insurance companies. And they'll make money. And if the example of Europe is followed, it would cost something like $100 per person in your family per month to cover dentistry, your hearing, your vision. and being able to go to a therapist, which I'm sure a lot of us could use, especially now going through the virus. So that's the kind of health care that I think in the future we will be talking about. I know that some of you don't feel that now is a time to be discussing politics. And depending on how you define politics, I would agree. If what you mean by politics is all the bickering and the division that we see in our country, yes, this is no time for that. It is time for us, though, to make decisions. And the way we make decisions is through politics. And we need people in government who are responsible to the people more than to corporations. One constituent in the 2nd District said to me, it just seems like corporations have lots more power than people. And that is exactly the situation we're in. And that's why we need new blood in Congress. We need people who haven't spent their careers there. They haven't spent decades getting very comfortable with the idea of working with corporations. So if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, that's going to be my approach, is to rebalance things between corporations and people, and to look for balance also between various ideologies. I'm progressive, but I have no objection to conservative ideas showing up in fixing healthcare or fixing education. Our ideology should be a guide, not our goal. It certainly is a guide for me. Results are going to be what matters. We may think we know the right answer of how to fix a problem, but until you try it, you can't know. And when it doesn't work, maybe you got to try something else. So hopefully we as Americans can move forward with all of our voices at the table, progressive, conservative, libertarian, whatever age group you are, whatever way that makes you an American, we should all be represented. So I've been going on for a while. Thank you all so much. In your comments, if you have questions you'd like for me to address, I'm going to try and do this every day. And I really appreciate you all being here. So thanks so much, and I will talk to you all later. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.